Janice Dean is the Fox News senior meteorologist. She is also the author of Mostly Sunny, which kind of, well, except for this hour maybe, kind of sums her up. Mostly Sunny. Hi, Janice. How are you?
Hi, Glenn, and hi, Stu. Thank you for having me today.
Hey, Janice.
I am thrilled to meet someone that is as upset as Stu is on Andrew Cuomo. I don't know how he gets away with what he has gotten away with in New York, but it's despicable. It's really despicable. Tell me how this story affected you before we get into all the stats.
Well, my husband lost both of his parents to coronavirus. His dad was in a nursing home. The plan was to have both parents in an assisted living facility close to where we are. And the backstory on that is his parents lived in a 4-story walk-up in Brooklyn for almost 60 years. They didn't want to move. It was rent controlled. We tried for many years to try to get them to move. They wouldn't listen to us. As they got older, they had more health problems. His dad was suffering from dementia. His health was going downhill very quickly. His mom had problems walking. She had to use a walker. We had aides coming into the building, but my husband still had to go to their apartment. There were trips to the ER. It was to the point where we had to have 24-hour care for both of them. They couldn't take care of themselves. They couldn't take care of each other. So we found a great assisted living residence very close to us on Long Island. And the plan was to have them both together in a double room. His dad needed rehab because he had a lot of health issues. So we had to get him in better shape. And he was only there for a couple of weeks, Glenn, and when the coronavirus came into play, and that was at the very end of March. We got a call on a Saturday morning saying his dad wasn't feeling well. And up until this point where we're getting updates, he was doing fine. Both of them were doing fine. And the Saturday morning, Sean gets the phone call that his dad isn't feeling well and that he's running a fever. And 3 hours later, he's dead.
Holy cow.
Yep. They call us to tell us he died 3 hours after the initial phone call of saying he wasn't well. And because we were in quarantine, we couldn't physically go see him for, at least a week and a half. We weren't able to go see him. We were trying to get regular updates. So we didn't find out that he had COVID until the death certificate. And we didn't know that at this point that the governor was putting COVID positive patients into nursing homes. It was only after he died that I started seeing the reports. And I remember getting a phone call before he died from one of the aides that was taking care of him saying that they were moving him to another floor so that they could accept more patients. So that was my first red flag. Yeah.
And your husband's mom.
Yeah. My husband had to call his mom to tell her that her husband had died. She hadn't seen him in many weeks. It was the hardest thing he's ever had to do. She got sick in her assisted living facility and was transported to the hospital. And we didn't know she had COVID until she got to the hospital. She died several days later. And the other reason why I'm angry and I'm upset is because her number does not count, because the governor will not count, or at least won't release the numbers of COVID patients that got COVID in their elder care facilities but died in the hospital.
They're the only state that counts it like that, right? They're the only state that says if you got it at a nursing home but you died in a hospital, it doesn't count.
Correct. And there have been people trying to sue for this information. We were supposed to get the information from his health commissioner, Howard Zucker, before the election, and then it was delayed until after the election. And now we're not supposed to get the total numbers until in January. So the Empire Center, which is a watchdog of sorts, it has sued the governor and his health department for this information, because if we're going to go forward and we're getting into a second wave now, if we don't have the actual total numbers, that's a big problem.
Do we have any idea of a guess, an educated guess?
The educated guess is double what they are reporting. So the governor is reporting, I think, 6,500 deaths in the nursing home facilities. And what I am hearing, the estimates are at least double that when you include those that died in the hospital but got COVID in their elder care facility.
Put this into perspective, Stu. What are other states looking at?
I mean, New York's performance in basically every category is worse than every other state. The only states that compete with New York are states like New Jersey, which was largely overflow from New York. And to show you how disingenuous Cuomo has been on this point, I mean, we all know that he imported COVID positive patients into nursing homes.
Right.
And he also will not tell everyone what the actual total of nursing home deaths are. He won't say what they are. He will not report it. It's been months and months and months, lawsuits and everything else. But what makes him uniquely awful in every single way are things like this, where he uses the second point, that he's only disclosing half the deaths, as a defense for his initial policy. Because when you ask him about his initial policy of importing these patients, he says, well, look at our numbers. We're like 34th in the nation. Well, you're only 34th in the nation because you're lying about the total, which is documented not by just conservative sources, but all over the mainstream media, that this has not occurred. They have not disclosed the correct number of patients. So he uses his lie to defend his policy that affected so many lives. It's incomprehensible how terrible he's been through this.
So, Janice, how come the lawsuits are not winning? How come you're not getting the release of the information? What is the excuse?
They need more time, apparently. They need more time to get all of this information. It is very frustrating. And of course, we have other questions like, Governor, why didn't you use the facilities that were provided by the federal government to you, including the Mercy Ship and the Javits Center and some of the makeshift hospitals that were put in place where taxpayers spent millions of dollars making these makeshift hospitals so that you could put coronavirus patients into these places instead of nursing homes, the most vulnerable areas. And at the beginning of this, Glenn, he said if we put the virus in nursing homes, it would spread like dry grass. There is evidence of him saying that on the record. So he knew. But I've read things that are very interesting to me, that he was getting whispers in his ear by some of his top hospital donors, that the hospitals were saying, we cannot deal with all of these corona patients. We are not able to care for them like perhaps nursing home might. So maybe that's where we should put the coronavirus patients. So there's all sorts of interesting things that I think an investigation might come up with.
So because my next question was, why would he do this? It was so clear. The one thing we knew going into it is if you are elderly and sick or weak, you're done. We knew that. That's the one thing we knew as it was coming over. So he had to have. Go ahead.
No, we did know that. And since, I would say in the last several weeks, I've been doing a lot of these rallies with some of the families that are going through the same thing that I'm going through, our family. And I've talked to nursing care workers, and they have the same questions. And they were the ones that actually right away raised their hand, wrote documents saying, please do not do this. We are not equipped to take COVID positive patients into our home. We don't have enough PPE. We can't separate them. This is going to be this is like fire through dry grass. All of these people, these experts knew. Why did the governor still put out an executive order forcing COVID positive patients into nursing homes, not for 1, not for 2 weeks, but 46 days until finally he rescinded the order? And the other thing Stu knows very well is that if you go on the health care website of New York, you cannot find that executive order anywhere. They have scrubbed it from the website.
This country is becoming so dangerous. The politician, without a free press, and I don't mean free as in, I think CNN is free to report anything they want. They just choose differently. But without a press that is actually trying to stand for the people not for the institutions, not for the parties, not for the politicians, but for the people. We are so far off the reservation now of a country that can even be free. We're not even getting the news, and they're scrubbing it, and nobody cares.
Well, you're right. Some of those places don't care. Thankfully, the Blaze is helping me with this. Fox News has helped me with this. The New York Post has been doing some good investigative journalism. The Wall Street Journal as well. There have been a couple of articles in the New York Times. But the problem is, and that's why I'm vocal, is because I am not seeing the mainstream media, ask these questions or demand accountability of their leaders. He really has been ruling with an iron fist. And every time he does get asked the question, he blames everybody else except the person that signed the order. He's blamed God and Mother Nature and the New York Post and Fox News and the nursing care workers and the visitors. And by the way, I was never able to visit my loved ones. So I didn't have a chance to bring in COVID to the nursing home.
And he has now gone to the tactic of saying, how dare you even ask? That is so hurtful to me, to even playing the martyr on this.
Right. He's actually said, how cruel of you to, put the blame on me. And to see these interviews still to this day going around, I mean, he's published a book on his leadership that he continues to publicize. And in my mind, he is profiting off the over 30,000 New Yorkers, including my in-laws, that died by publishing a book on leadership of New York after he has helped really, his order has helped kill thousands of relatives of New York State. And this is not political, Glenn. This is not about Republican or Democrat. My in-laws were registered Democrats. This is not about politics. This is about accountability for something that went wrong. And it's because of your leadership that we're put into this situation.